10 ways to find your strengths. Personal strengths are skills or personality traits that benefit an individual throughout their life, whether it be in private relationships or formal settings like work. All people have strengths, but they often go unused. When this occurs, you miss out on an opportunity to succeed. Strengths allow individuals to be more efficient, productive, empathetic, artistic, or so on. They bring out the best qualities in us. So, they allow us to achieve more and become more satisfied. If you choose not to use your strengths, your career and personal life suffer in a multitude of ways. If you have a professional strength like communication and it is not utilized, your team can become confused and chaotic. Remember that strengths reach beyond the workplace. At home, your relationship may suffer. In this video, we will be talking about 10 ways to find your strengths. Watch this video till the end to know more about finding your strengths. 1. Expand your definition of strength. When we think of our strengths, we often narrow the definition of this concept to skills and traits that could impress a hiring manager. While you should be proud of skills such as critical thinking and great communication, you are so much more than your resume. Expand your concept of strength to encompass all areas of your life. Some incredible talents and characteristics that are often overlooked, but should be considered as strengths include emotional intelligence, kindness and compassion, resilience and refusing to give up in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles, seeing the good in other people, being a reliable friend, patience, stubbornly following your own path. 2. Improve self-awareness through journaling. It's no secret that if you want to discover your strengths, you have to increase your self-awareness. One of the best ways to get to know yourself better is to journal. Self-discovery occurs gradually when you freely express your thoughts and feelings on paper. If you're in a bit of a rush and want to discover your strengths as soon as possible, journaling prompts could help speed up the process. Here are some prompts to consider trying the next time you journal. What activities come naturally to me? What abilities do I lack training in, but excel at anyways? Which subjects in school did I achieve the highest marks on as a kid? When people turn to me for help, is it usually for anything specific? What can I spend hours doing and never get tired of? 3. Take personality and strength tests. A more direct solution to identifying your strengths is to take strengths-based quizzes. These quizzes are specifically designed to help you discover your natural gifts and talents. Here are 2 of the most popular self-assessments to help you find your strengths. Another great way to improve self-awareness and identify your strengths is to take some personality tests. The Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, or MBTI, was developed based on Carl Jung's psychological types. It identifies 16 distinctive personality types, each with its own preference of functions. The MBTI quiz specifically identifies the strengths and weaknesses of each type. For example, I'm an INFP. According to my MBTI, my strengths are empathetic, generous, open-minded, creative, passionate, and idealistic. Since we're making the conscious decision to focus on our strengths in this article, let's just skip the part about my weaknesses. As popular as the MBTI is, most psychologists prefer to test personality based on the Big Five. People are tested based on how high or low they score according to 5 traits: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism. 4. Ask people who know you well. If you're too humble to identify your strengths on your own, enlist the help of people who you know best. Ask your partner, friends, and family members what they believe your biggest strengths are. You'd be surprised at how many strengths you actually have but never paid attention to. Gather this data from your loved ones and analyze it. If a particular trait or skill comes up often, then that's probably a major strength of yours. In the event that you're too shy or self-conscious to ask the people you love for compliments, just ask one person. Ask someone who knows you better than anyone else on this planet what your strengths are, and believe them when they tell you how amazing you are. 5. Pay attention to praise from others. You might not have been paying attention to your own strengths, but chances are, lots of other people have. There is probably a trail of clues to finding your greatest gifts and traits from both your past and present employers, coworkers, partners, friends, and complete strangers. If you want to find your strengths, it's a good idea to listen to others when they notice positive things about you. Pay attention to positive feedback from your supervisors or coworkers. Believe your partner or your friends when they compliment you about something you do well. Thank strangers when they praise you for a trait you often overlook. Focusing on positive words from others is not only a great way to discover your strengths, but it's also a much better alternative than ruminating on the negative. 6. Know yourself. Step 1 in my mind is to exercise some self-awareness and start evaluating yourself in order to make a few key determinations about your personality and general outlook on life. Put simply, this step could be described with the phrase, know yourself. Who could be better than you in identifying your own core strengths and weaknesses? Taking the time to better understand those strengths and weaknesses will help to provide some context or foundational background for you to then project forward to try and imagine what your future may hold. If you haven't previously taken the time to really evaluate where you stand as a person and analyze your own skill sets, strengths, weaknesses, and long-term objectives in life, then you are definitely holding yourself back from where you could be as an individual. Knowing yourself and taking the time to learn even more about yourself is vital in working towards maximizing your strengths. 7. Ask a friend. Interestingly enough, some research out there that suggests the near opposite of the above. Perhaps others know you better than you know yourself. So ask. On Oprah.com, the writer Barbara Sher suggests that one way to better identify your own strengths is to ask your friend to name 3 of your strengths. 1. I also like this approach because it removes the potential for personal biases to impact your own self-assessment. Our friends have a solid window into our personality and often are as equipped to help us identify our strengths and weaknesses, because they have a valuable outsider perspective. It's probably a good idea to take your own self-assessment, bounce that information off of a friend and compare notes. If there are areas of overlap, then you might be headed in the right direction. If not, then perhaps you need to scrutinize either your own self-assessment or your friend's assessment and see if the truth lies somewhere in between the two. Whichever method you take, it is important that during this part of the process you take an honest assessment of yourself, because if you are unwilling to make an honest judgment of your own strengths and weaknesses, then this exercise will be futile. We are probably all generally aware of the areas that we excel in as well as where we are lacking. 8. Find clues in your attempts and failures. As we all get older, the hope is that we also become more self-aware. Why? As we experience life in a one-way direction, we ought to learn some things through the process of trying and failing. I learned how powerful love could be after I got my heart broken by my first girlfriend. I learned how much I appreciated a steady paycheck after I got fired from a job. I learned how to be a better driver after experiencing for my first major car wreck. Failure is indeed a foundational piece of building long-term success in any pursuit. Through our failures we become more equipped to recognize future hazards and ingrain those lessons into the fiber of our being so that we ultimately see gains from what were once losses. In the middle of a failure, it is almost impossible to see these lessons. It isn't until after the storm has passed that you begin to put the puzzle pieces together and find the lesson to be learned in that situation. The important thing to remember is that in your failings, in your moments where you fall short, if you pay enough attention you might be able to start identifying the weaknesses in your own life that may have a hand in those failures. And if you are smart, you will start trying to learn how to minimize those issues and maximize what you are great at so that you see a path to success start to develop. 9. Analyze your successes. While failure can be a great teacher at times, success also begets more success. Any experience, whether positive or negative, can be a teaching tool for the individual if that individual is willing to utilize it. The key, of course, is to get into the thick of things and start finding ways to gain that necessary experience. So often at corporate companies I hear the phrase, "You've got to put in your time," referencing the idea that you have to put a certain number of years into a company before you start to see that result in a positive correlation within your career. 10. Maintain a hold on your identity. Whether you are trying to be a good parent or a good employee, it's important that you as an individual have an extremely strong grip on your own identity. Knowing yourself will be paramount in your aim to leverage those strengths in order to experience future success. Another element to consider is to think about how investing in yourself is actually very different than how we invest in the stock markets. When you invest in the stock market, most experts will tell you that you should diversify your asset classes, or invest in index funds so that you aren't concentrated in a singular position that could potentially weigh down your portfolio. This is the exact opposite approach that one should take when looking to identify and leverage your personal strengths. When it comes to capitalizing on one's strengths, you should be looking to invest more of your time, energy, and money into a more singularly focused move that builds up your greatest strengths or skill sets. That's all from today. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked the video. Stay tuned for more exciting videos.